Hello dear people, welcome back to a new video. This time of year we are being treated with misty autumn mornings. Nights are filled with the sounds of deer in the forest making their calls. And we are getting ready to go to our home country Belgium in a few days' time. For the first time since moving here, we found someone willing and able to watch over the homestead, so neither of us have to stay at home this time. It's been 3 years since we went away together, so this feels quite exceptional. One of the big downsides of having a homestead is accepting the consequence that it is not easy to just leave for a weekend or a holiday. And although I really like our home, sometimes I wish we had some more freedom on this front. For a few weeks already, we are trying to get the goats to stop producing milk to make life easier for our house sitter. It didn't quite go as planned, so when the departure date came in sight, our two does were still giving us 2 liters of milk together daily. This means that our house sitter is getting a crash course in goat milking when he arrives here a few days beforehand. Jonas finished up the firewood storage, and I did some landscaping with tall grasses and irises that a friend gave me. Arriving in Belgium is always a bit hectic, with its busy traffic and pace of haste in the air. Luckily, Jonas's parents are going for walks often, and they took us to a small nature reserve in the province of Antwerp. I was actually really impressed by the parts of this reserve, with the real old oak and beech forests. These old trees were so majestic and felt so strangely inviting. It made me dream of a world where old oak and beech forests were still common in the landscapes of Europe. We also got a phone call that day from our house sitter, telling us that 7 rabbits have escaped by making a hole in the fence. They are running freely in the garden and he is going after them. We had a good laugh, because isn't that something typical to happen when you leave home? Then it was time to visit my parents. They live in the house that used to belong to my grandparents, so I have known this place my whole life. But I do have special memories of the backyard of this old house, as I lived there for 4 years before moving to Estonia. Going through some of my old stuff that's still there brings back memories. It's here that I started my very first garden. My grandparents were out of the house and my parents had moved in. I just came back from a long journey visiting different permaculture projects in Portugal. I didn't have a home to go to or any money to do something with, so I ended up temporarily living in the backyard that wasn't in use. I've tried putting the saying, using your waiting room as your classroom, into practice at that time. My friend Meryl joined in and together we've tried building some stuff, like the polytunnel with shower and little chill-out spots. Jonas also joined in for helping out in the weekends, until eventually every square meter was being landscaped and put to use, and it looked like this when we left. We didn't expect the garden to still exist, actually. I had thought the place would have been sold by now. This hasn't happened so far. And my mom mostly took care of the vegetable garden out of her own interests and has been growing foods here ever since. The infrastructure hasn't received any maintenance though, and some things have disappeared altogether. The straw bale greenhouse is still standing. The straw bale walls are doing fine, but the windows that we put up as a part of the roof weren't the best idea in terms of durability during storms. In here we made a shower with old windows back in the day. The garden house has almost disappeared behind the butterfly bushes. This was a second-hand garden shed that we had transformed into a living space. Now the roof is leaking and it's starting to fall apart. Between the trees in the back we had put up an improvisatory outside kitchen. And the last project we did was a pond in the back corner that we broke down before leaving and is now an overgrown hole. The garden though is still an inviting place to walk around. It's interesting to see my mom making a very different choice of plants to grow here. We tried to take a few shoots from this giant pink lily in the small pond, but the root system has become so huge it was too much of an undertaking.
Waar ga je naartoe? Iedereen is de andere kant op gegaan.
Upstairs in one of the rooms of the old house there is still some stuff from me, waiting to be moved. Mainly all things art related, like art books and my sketchbooks. I've told my parents I will find a way to collect those when there is an art studio on our property. I did however go through my stuff, to only keep the most important things. It's funny to see back my sketchbooks with the first drawings of the house we now live in. My first ideas were a bit more on the wild side. We also visited my friend Merel. She also lives here with her partner Steven, and the place is buzzing with beautiful flowers and lots of charming little corners. They also live their version of an off-grid slow-paced lifestyle here. Ja, het gaat een goede hoekenpad laat. Valt gewoon. Evelyn, my friend, who you might recognize from other videos, also came for a stay. And we very much enjoyed talking, each other's company and some good food.
Wel ervaring met homesteaddieren wou hebben.
Ah ja, dat is inderdaad zo.
Ja, ja, exact. Financiële getuigen zijn echt zo.
Echt een homestead.
Wherever I look, I keep discovering abundant bouquets of flowers that Merel has assembled. I think she has the most stunning dahlia collection growing here. Inside the house, the hang instruments and the harp take a central spot. This household is definitely filled with musical vibes. Eliana and me stayed the night in the canvas tent that is set up between the trees.
Zullen we dat broekje zelfs eens doen? Dat pampert. De billetjes.
Schapenmekker.
Ja.
Vreemde baby's en bloemetjes. Wil je eten?
Die oogstjes. Zo.
Ja. Ja, goed zo.
The rest of our time here in Belgium was very filled with lots of faces and places, and although tiring, I very much enjoyed talking all day and seeing how everyone is doing.
Ja, is ook beautiful. Zeg. Kleedje, grote. Hier nog vleesjes. Nee, nog vleesjes. Nog vleesjes. Kijk, hè.
But oof, back home into the silence. Frost has knocked out the last plants in the garden. It starts looking empty now.
Ja, bakje. Ik ga dan aan de bakje ook wel proeven, maar die moest dan...
Our house sitter and friend Kurt welcomed us warmly back home. All rabbits are back into their pens and everything looks peaceful. As I had expected, both me and Eliana were knocked out for a few days with a cough and a cold. We harvested our pumpkins to let them sit in the sun for a few days before making room for them in storage.